Hey friends, so it is a travesty that some of these actors have not won an Oscar yet. So I thought I would break down the actors most overdue for an Oscar win. Now there are so many people deserving of an Oscar, yes, but I've tried to find the actors that came this close to actually winning or had a performance that wasn't even nominated that probably actually could have won. I'm also going to take a look at the roles these actors have coming up according to IMDb to see if maybe their future movies might actually garner them an Oscar win. Only time will tell. But let's get straight into it. My number one pick, Jake Gyllenhaal. Yes, he's an absolute hottie, but he is also probably, in terms of nominations, the most snubbed actor by the Academy. He only has one nomination for Best Supporting Actor way back in 2005 for Brokeback Mountain. Now, he actually won the BAFTA for Best Supporting Actor for this role, but somehow he missed out on the Oscar. It went to George Clooney for Syriana, which, I mean, it makes sense. George Clooney is one of the most charismatic actors on the planet. This was in a period where Jake was kind of on the come up still. He was very much a teen heartthrob and then found his way doing a lot of dramatic, meaty roles, which he did for about 10 years. He worked with a bunch of great directors like David Fincher, Denis Villeneuve, Ang Lee, Sam Mendes. Some of the biggest roles he missed for: Nocturnal Animals, Jarhead, Prisoners, The Day After Tomorrow. Okay, I kid. Okay. But he's had so many roles in movies where he really got to show off his chops and the Academy completely ignored him. I think Nightcrawler is the one that he definitely should have been nominated for and perhaps even won that year. He plays completely against type, plays kind of creepy. He really shrunk down for that role and it's probably the most tense I've been in a movie that year. So it's disappointing that he missed out. I really hope the Academy changes their mind. So what does he have upcoming that could get him a win? He's starring in a movie called Francis and the Godfather, which is apparently based on Francis Ford Coppola, the director of the Godfather series. Apparently he butt heads with the producer and Jake Gyllenhaal is playing that producer. So it could be a very dialogue heavy, meaty role for him and he might be able to play an interesting character in that and walk his way up to an Oscar. I don't know. The internet has been a buzz at the moment. He's starring in the new remake of Roadhouse where he's fully got his body on point. The internet is going crazy over that. It's definitely nice to look at. I don't know if that movie has Oscar potential. I mean, the original, which was critically panned, definitely does not. But hey, maybe it will. I mean, maybe we will be completely mesmerized by his body and the Academy voters will just go, yes. Give it to me. All right, number two, Amy Adams. I mean, this is a given. She's a 6-time nominee. She's never won. Her breakthrough came in Steven Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can in 2002, but she got her first nomination for Junebug in 2006, which, in my opinion, she should have won for. She was beaten by Rachel Weisz for The Constant Gardener. Rachel Weisz was actually nominated in the leading actress at the BAFTAs, so I wonder if maybe there was a bit of category fraud going on. Amy Adams should have won for Junebug way back then, and then we wouldn't have this like whole narrative that she's undeserving and that she's still not won one. I mean, she's 100% deserving, but she really used that Junebug nomination to propel her career. She got to work with some outstanding directors like Paul Thomas Anderson in The Master, Steven Spielberg, Denis Villeneuve again, Adam McKay, Tom Ford, Ron Howard. She has pushed out performance after performance and they are all outstanding. I would have loved to see her nominated for Enchanted. I feel like that would have been a really inspired nomination, but alas, she missed out on that. Now, she's had a bit of a dud couple of years though. A lot of the movies she's been in over the past 5 years have like completely flopped or been critically panned. She starred in Hillbilly Elegy, which hey, she got a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination for, so it can't be all that bad. She was in Dear Evan Hansen, The Woman in the Window, Disenchanted, and all these movies kind of did not that great. So hopefully she can do a career spin around. Maybe she needs a new agent, I don't know, because things are falling apart for Amy Adams and we need her to win an Oscar, please. So according to IMDb, her next movie is something called Night Bitch, which I just love. Let me say that again. Night Bitch. Wait till you hear the plot because it's even more crazy. A stay-at-home mum begins to worry that she might be turning into a dog. Okay, when I read that I was like, Amy, what are you doing? What are you doing? Your career, you're throwing it down the drain. No, it's directed by Mariel Haller, who actually did A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood and Can You Ever Forgive Me? And both of those movies actually got actors nominated for Oscars. It means that this director is acclaimed, and maybe this movie is better than the plot is giving it credit for. Let's hope. It would be nice to see Amy win, finally, you know. Number 3, Glenn Close. Now, we all kind of know Glenn Close's history with the Oscars. She's been nominated 8 times and never won, which is just ridiculous. She's an institution at this stage. There's been 2 times I think she came extremely close. Back in 1987, Cher won for Moonstruck, and Glenn Close gave the performance of a lifetime in Fatal Attraction. I mean, regardless what you think about the movie, that character is iconic, and Glenn Close really gave it her all in that. Sadly, I mean, Cher is irresistible. I mean, it's Cher, bitch. I mean, how can you not give Cher an Oscar? I don't know if it was deserved, but she won in the end. The other time Glenn Close missed was recently when Olivia Colman pipped her at the Oscars for The Favourite. Ironic, considering Glenn Close seemed to be the favourite going into that award ceremony. It finally felt like the Academy was going to give her her Oscar. She had waited so many years. She'd given this incredible performance in The Wife. It was timely, about a woman being overshadowed by her husband. I mean, I don't begrudge the Academy for giving this to Olivia Colman. I personally believe she gave the best performance that year in The Favourite. It is so good. And Olivia Colman has an Oscar now, and I'm stoked about that. And she continues to be nominated pretty much annually. Because she keeps knocking it out of the park with these roles. But it meant that Glenn Close went home empty-handed, which is pretty sad, especially when you see her reaction. I just kind of felt for her. But what does she have coming up? She's in a new horror movie directed by Lee Daniels. I don't know if this is going to push her into the Oscar conversation. We know that the Academy isn't that big on awarding horror movie actresses ever. I don't know, I don't have much faith in this, but it is Lee Daniels, and he has done some great movies over the years, and a lot of them have had women from those movies being nominated, and so maybe this will be Glenn Close's chance. I remember there was a bunch of chatter about her starring in the movie musical of Sunset Boulevard. She did do it on the Broadway stage, and there was a whole bunch of talks about it being turned into a movie, but I can't seem to see anything about it happening anymore, so I don't know. People always say, like, that is how Glenn Close is gonna win an Oscar, but I don't know if it's happening. It's been talked about for years, so it may have disappeared now, unfortunately. Next up is Bradley Cooper. Now, he is a 9-time Academy Award nominee and never won. 4 nominations for acting, 4 nominations for producing, and 1 for writing. I think his best shot was for A Star Is Born. He was nominated for 3 Oscars for that movie. He missed out on directing, which was a bit of a shocking snub that year, but I think his acting performance in that is phenomenal, and maybe he should have beaten Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. A lot of people don't love that Rami Malek won the award that year. It's a bit of a controversial win. I mean, everybody loves Queen, but people were wondering, do people love Queen or do they love Rami Malek's performance? Like, they need to separate the two. But at the end of the day, Rami Malek got the Oscar, and people wish that Bradley Cooper had won it for A Star Is Born, because that is a brilliant performance. I personally would have loved to see him win the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for American Hustle. He was beaten by Jared Leto that year in Dallas Buyers Club, which I will not go there today. I have so many problems with that performance, but I will let it rest for now. And the fact that Jared Leto has an Oscar, I mean, we really do not need to keep boosting that man's ego. Can I be real for a moment? What does he have coming up? He's starring and also producing in a movie called Maestro, where he plays iconic film composer Leonard Bernstein. This feels to me like Oscars bait, hands down. It's about an iconic film composer, and you know the Academy love anything to do with Hollywood. It also feels very drama heavy, so this could be his chance. We will see. He's also apparently attached to this upcoming Steven Spielberg movie. It's based on a character that Steve McQueen played in the 70s called Bullet. I don't really know much about it. I have not seen that movie from the 70s, so I can't say anything about it, but being in a Steven Spielberg movie is always a good thing. The Academy loved that, so if that all goes planned and goes ahead, then that could be his opportunity as well. All right, Jim Carrey. Now this one breaks me. I love Jim Carrey. He really started off his career doing comedy performances, so I feel like the Academy kind of hold that against him a little bit, because he has put out some phenomenal performances, not just in comedy, which is kind of maligned by the Academy often, but also a lot of great drama roles that he was just completely snubbed for. I'm talking about mainly The Truman Show. He actually won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Drama for this role and completely missed out on a nomination for it. In my opinion, he should have 3 nominations up to this point: Truman Show, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Spine, which is just hands down one of the best movies ever made, let's be honest. And also A Man on the Moon, where he plays Andy Kaufman, and there is a whole documentary about Jim Carrey going into character to play Andy Kaufman in that. I haven't actually seen it, but from what I've heard, he went bonkers doing it. And to be honest, he hasn't been in the Oscars conversation for a very long time. He's kind of moved into TV, and I think he starred in the Sonic movie as well. And there's nothing really upcoming on his IMDb page either. I feel like maybe Jim Carrey's chances at winning an Oscar have gone. I find that there's a thing where like actors that came up doing comedy like Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy really struggle not only to get into the Oscars conversation and to get a nomination, but especially to win. Comedy roles are really challenging to do sometimes, and I wish the Academy cared about them more and even saw that that is good acting. You don't have to be breaking down, crying your eyes out on screen in order to be worthy of an Oscar. So maybe we're seeing a change with that, with Jamie Lee Curtis getting the win this year for Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was definitely not a dramatic performance by any means, but it was zany and it was definitely leaning more into comedy in the genre category. So I feel that there's a shift happening, but we need to make it happen faster. Up next is Willem Dafoe. Now, I love Willem Dafoe. He is one of the most diverse actors I think I've ever seen. He's solid, he's reliable, and he's just got one of those faces that can just purely melt into a character. He can play a hero, he can play a villain, he can play Jesus. Like, he can literally do anything. He's had 4 Oscar nominations up to this point. He's big on being in the supporting category. He's been nominated there 3 times for Platoon, Shadow of a Vampire, and The Florida Project. He got a lead nomination for At Eternity's Gate, where he played Vincent van Gogh. His biggest snub was probably for The Lighthouse. A lot of people thought that he should have got nominated for that. A very quirky, zany movie from Robert Eggers. I mean, that was the year that Brad Pitt swept every supporting actor nomination and win for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so it makes sense. I mean, it's difficult to go against Brad Pitt that year. And I personally believe he should have got nominated for the Marvel movie Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, that would have made him the first actor to get a nomination from a Marvel movie instead of Angela Bassett this year, but I think his closest chance was probably for The Florida Project, which he missed out, sadly. He won a lot of critics awards for that, and same with The Lighthouse, he won a lot of critics awards for that, but he's got a lot of movies coming up. I mean, this man never stops working. He's starring in the next Yorgos Lanthimos movie. It's called Poor Things, and he's playing an eccentric but brilliant scientist opposite Emma Stone. I mean, that meant good things for Olivia Colman when she played an eccentric but brilliant character opposite Emma Stone in The Favourite. So maybe this could see Willem Dafoe winning an Oscar for this. He is hoping, he really deserves it. He's also in the Nosferatu remake by Robert Eggers, who did The Lighthouse and The Northman, and I don't know what role he's playing in that, and I feel like that has had a bumpy history to getting made, but if it does all fully go through, he could be playing some kind of creepy vampire role and see his second nomination for playing a vampire character. I don't know, we shall see, but I think he's got a lot in the works that he could actually win for, so time will tell. Speaking of actors nominated in Marvel movies, Angela Bassett is next up on my list. She is a 2-time Oscar nominee. We all saw her face when she lost the Oscar this year to Jamie Lee Curtis. It was soul crushing, and it just makes us realize that this woman deserves an Oscar. She has been knocking it out of the park for so many years. She's been in the industry for so long, and she continues to deliver amazing performances. Did the fact that she was starring in a Marvel movie get in her way this year? I honestly wonder if it did. She is iconic, but I don't know if the Academy can let their genre bias go to give it to a superhero movie. She was definitely closest in 1993 with What's Love Got to Do With It when she played Tina Turner. She was beaten by Holly Hunter in The Piano, which honestly is probably one of the most heated competitions in Best Actress history. They really were neck and neck, but I feel like Holly Hunter pipped it all the way to the end. If she'd honestly waited one more year, she probably would have won it in 1994, because that was such a dud year for Best Actress. There's a video about that actually by Be Kind Rewind, which I will link in the description, because it is a very iconic year in terms of how weird and chaotic it was. But that definitely could have been Angela Bassett's turn if they just held on a little bit longer. But I really feel like her nomination this year and her eventual loss should show Hollywood that she is deserving of an Oscar, she is deserving of the respect, and they just need to cast her in a juicy role that can get her into the conversation again. There is clearly a lot of love for her and a lot of passion for her to win, so if they just find the right role for her, come on Hollywood, find the right director and writer to give her the movie that gets her back onto that stage. My next pick is Samuel L. Jackson. My God, How he did not win an Oscar so early in his career baffles me. He missed out for Pulp Fiction. He actually won the BAFTA for supporting actor for Pulp Fiction, and he was very iconically snubbed at the Academy Awards. Martin Landau walked away with the Oscar for Ed Wood, which, I hate to say it, it's neck and neck between those two. I mean, Martin Landau's performance is something iconic, and I've never seen anything really like it. And I think it's very heated, the conversation between these two of who should win, but I feel like a lot of people haven't actually seen Ed Wood to realize the kind of performance that Martin Landau does. And he was also a Hollywood heavyweight. He'd been doing acting for a long time. I think that was his third nomination by that point, so it really felt like he was deserving of winning. Plus Samuel L. Jackson was kind of like up and coming. Pulp Fiction was very much a breakthrough role for him. I feel like he should have won a few years earlier for Spike Lee's Jungle Fever. He won a whole bunch of critics awards for that, but missed out on any big nomination, but he was phenomenal in that. And he's never been nominated since 1994. He's done a lot of like action movies, and he's basically on call with Marvel at the moment. He's in every Marvel movie as Nick Fury. So I don't know necessarily if he had any chance to be nominated and win again for anything. He's in an upcoming movie called The Piano Lesson, which is based on an August Wilson play. He's actually been performing that role in a stage play at the moment in Broadway. There was a 1995 TV movie which garnered a whole bunch of Emmy nominations, so there is a big possibility that Samuel L. Jackson could be back in the awards conversation with this movie. He does have an honorary Oscar as well, which is phenomenal, but to see him win for an acting performance, I think would just cement his status as one of the greatest actors of all time. And to finish off, a 5-time Oscar nominee, Michelle Williams. She was nominated again this year in leading actress for The Fabelmans, and I feel like that this might have actually been her best shot at winning an Oscar had she been campaigning in supporting actress. She was first nominated for Brokeback Mountain, which we are reeling right back to Jake Gyllenhaal at the start of this video. So coming up, she's actually starring in a Peggy Lee biopic. Peggy Lee is an iconic jazz singer from the 50s and 60s, and this movie's actually been directed by Todd Haynes, who directed Far From Heaven, Carol, I'm Not There, and the TV miniseries Mildred Pierce. Now, what do all these have in common? They got their lead actresses all into the Oscar conversation, or the Emmy conversation in Mildred Pierce's case. So Michelle Williams starring in a biopic of a famous musician done by this director, I just feel like she's gonna find her way back into the Academy Awards very soon with this. And at the moment, the movie's called Fever, and we know how much the Academy loves to award actors in musical biopics. I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody, Elvis, Judy, Flavia and Rose, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I feel like if Michelle Williams really sinks herself into this performance, she could actually find herself finally winning, and it could be her 6th nomination and finally her win. As is the case with all these other actors on this list, only time will tell. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know, who are the actors that you think are most overdue to win an Oscar? And don't forget to like and subscribe. I post videos every week on everything to do with entertainment, movies, music, TV, and awards season, so definitely follow along if you love that kind of stuff. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'm your friend Phil. I'll see you next time.